Good day, class. Welcome to English 10 with Sir Christian. For today's topic, we will be talking about the three approaches of literary criticism. But before that, let us first ask guidance from our Lord God through a prayer to be led by Mr. Mark Diaz. Mr. Diaz? Amen. Thank you very much. And before we have our lesson, of course, I would like to remind you of our etiquettes. I would like to tell you to open your cameras at all times so that I can see your beautiful and handsome faces. And if you have any more concerns, clarifications, and questions, you may raise your hand through the raise hand button. You may also write in our chat box your questions. And of course, you may turn on your cameras and microphones. But I would like to tell you that do not interrupt while someone is talking. Always remember to wait for your turn. In line with today's lesson, I am expecting everyone to identify the three literary criticism approaches and to appreciate the lesson from the excerpt of The Little Prince, and lastly, to write a critic paper using the approaches. Last time, I asked you to read the excerpt coming from Antoine de Saint-Exupery entitled The Little Prince. So later on, you will be somehow using the knowledge that you have gained from this excerpt. But before we start our lesson, of course, I prepared some activity that you may enjoy. This is Guess Who I Am. So there will be different pictures that will be presented, and you have to identify who they are in the selection that you have read. So I believe that you have read already The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupery. So I am expecting that you know already who are these characters that will be presented. So let's start. The first one is, okay, so he is not part of the character, but he is part of the book. Okay, Miss Torres, your answer is, that's correct. Okay, so that's good. That's very good. It seems that you really know who he is. So he is Antoine de Saint-Exupery. He is the one who wrote The Little Prince, one of the most wonderful books, okay, at all times. So let's have the second picture. The second picture is actually the title of the book. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Estacio. You are correct. The answer is The Little Prince himself. And for the last two pictures, the first one, okay, so it is a flower, but in The Little Prince, it is actually part of the characters, and this is, that's correct, Miss Canlas, that is the rose of The Little Prince. And last but not the least, okay, so you got it right, Miss Bensig. This is the fox. Okay, so thank you very much for your participation. So we met Antoine de Saint-Exupery, the writer, The Little Prince, the rose, and the fox. So now let's have our lesson for today, the approaches of literary criticism. So I will be expecting that all of you will be listening attentively because I might ask questions during the discussion. So always be ready and attentive. So the first approach that we will be talking about is the formalist approach. Formalism may be defined as a critical approach in which the text under discussion is considered primarily as a structure of words. And with that, the main focus is on the arrangement of language of the words or on the biographical and historical relevance of the work in question again, rather than the implications of the words or the meanings of the words, or even it is not about the biographical or historical relevance of the work, because that is another approach to discuss too. Again, so when we say formalist approach, it is a critical approach in which we try to decode the text coming from the book, and we usually see the structure of the words and the arrangement of language. Formalist, coming from the word form, we are after the symbols, we are after the structure. We are after how many pages do these books have? How many pages or how many things that we can that we can use as symbols in this book? So later on, you will be seeing different symbolism that we can see. For example, in the story of the Cinderella, what would be the symbol of the glass shoe? Because that shoe is not just a simple shoe, but it is a glass shoe. So maybe it symbolizes elegance. It symbolizes being rich. And Cinderella is not rich. But then again, when they saw Cinderella in a house together with her stepmom and stepsisters, she's just a slave. So maybe that is a symbolism that that glass shoe cannot be hers. But at the end of the story, it is something that's fitted to her feet, or to her foot rather. So that's how we work on the formalist approach. Next is the feminist approach. A feminist literary critic resists traditional assumptions while reading a text. And in addition to challenging assumptions which were thought to be universal, feminist literary criticism actively supports what? Including women's knowledge in literature and valuing women's experiences. Well, I believe that the most fitted, suited, the most fitted and suited example for this approach is Little Women. If you know that book, it is about a family of women. So it is a family of four daughters and their parents. So how they try to fight and how they try to see the world in the Civil War or after the Civil War, because their father is a soldier that was sent to fight for the Civil War. And they are trying to see that the rights of the women during elections, the rights of women to write, the rights of women to publish a journal or a book. So in that particular book, you will see that feminism is really there. And as a critic, we will try to expound further about these experiences and knowledge of women. And that's how we use the feminist approach. Last but not the least is the Marxist approach. Marxist criticism places a literary work within the context of class and assumptions about class. A premise of Marxist criticism is that literature can be viewed as ideological. When we say classes, it means that the social status of a particular person. Like, if we will be trying to analyze the story, we will be seeing it as maybe a princess and then a poor man, like Aladdin and Jasmine. We can also see this with the prince of Cinderella and Cinderella herself. So with that, we can see the division between these two characters because of what? Because of the status or the class that they belong to. So usually Marx's approach is very relevant and readily there when it comes to the Indian literature. Because in Indian literature, we have the caste system that is existing in their culture. And they are trying to imply and apply that caste system in every story that they were writing. So Marx's approach could be best described and best used in an Indian literature. For example, Aladdin and Jasmine. The setting in Aladdin and Jasmine is in India. And of course, Jasmine is a princess and Aladdin is a normal boy. But then they fell in love to each other. They try to to fight for their love. Okay? So again, the three approaches that I discussed for today are formalist approach, we have also the feminist approach and Marxist approach. A trivia about Marxist approach, this was based and aligned and of course inspired by Karl Marx, a philosopher, sociologist, and he tried to expound further about social classes. And of course, the day would not end without telling you about The Little Prince. Since I asked you already to read the excerpt of The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupery, this is a fact from The Little Prince. So it is a novella by French aristocrat, writer, and military aviator Antoine de Saint-Exupery, and it was first published in English and French in the US by Reynal and Hitchcock in April 1943. In the excerpt of The Little Prince that you have read, so in there maybe you have learned the word tame, and you have learned about the essence of being essential, the vitality of being important, and how can we try to see and to feel what does it mean to be important to someone. Later on, it will be more expounded through the quotation coming from that book. But of course, The Little Prince is something that I am very fond of, and I want you to love this as well. Okay, class? So, to review, formalist approach means symbolic. We are looking for the symbols in the book. Feminist approach is resistant because when we say feminist approach, it is resisting what is the usual. And of course, we are very knowledgeable that paternal or the superiority of men over women is there from a long time for a long time ago. So feminist approach is resistant because it resists that reality. And Marxist approach is ideological. For your sit work, I want you to create a 4-line and one-stanza poem about the following using symbolism. So you can choose between candle, a rose, or wings. For your grading, here is the rubric. So we have the structure, 5 points, content, 5 points, technique, 5 points, grammar, 5 points. So this sit work is a total of 20 points. So do you have any more questions about your seat work? Okay, I guess none. Okay, so thank you very much. So I already received your seat work. I can see beautiful poems coming from you, students. So I guess that you really love literature and poetry. Well, it's kind of challenging because you have to write this in English, but you did great, class. So once again, when we try to see symbols, we try to, yes, we try to have our imagination and inspiration in giving meanings to their symbols. For example, the colors. What does color white mean to you? Okay, so we have here purity. We have also here cleanliness. I love that. Oh, there's another one that said divine. Well, all of you are correct because of the fact that symbolism is subjective. Meanings of symbolism is subjective or are subjective. It is only because that what something means to you could be different from others. But then again, symbolism is there for you to activate your mind and your heart. Next color. If we have already had white, why not color blue? Blue is something that we often read in a literature, like I am feeling blue. Even the color in Inside Out, a movie from Disney. We have here the colors blue, yellow, green, red, and violet. So, can we say what are the meanings of these colors? Okay, so blue means sadness, according to Inside Out. Violet means fear, yes. Green means disgust. Yellow means joy. Red means anger. Well, it seems that all of you already watched Inside Out, and I can relate to that because these are feelings. So I'm feeling blue because I'm feeling sad. But blue could mean as well sky. And the sky means independence, freedom. So you can connect these colors through the use of symbolism, and that's how formalist approach works. After you have your seat work, of course, here is your assignment for today. So I believe that all of you will be enjoying this assignment because you were asked to write a critic paper about The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupery and highlight the approach used. So you may use different approaches like formalist, feminist, and Marxist. But I guess that you will be using one of my favorite approaches in this critic paper. The rubrics for grading are as follows. We have structure 25, content 30, technique 25, and grammar 20 with a total of 100 points. So this assignment is believed to be submitted on February 14. I know that this is the day of love, the Valentine's Day, but you have to submit your assignment. So that is on Monday. So I would like you to submit your assignment with love, and I would like to greet you a happy Valentine's Day, even if you're single or taken. But I suppose that all of you are single because you are still students, and I do not tolerate, relationship that is for teenagers or what. But I believe that all of you are filled with love because I, as your teacher, really love you. And here's the quotation coming from the Little Prince. So the Little Prince approached the fox, and when the Little Prince is bidding or was bidding his goodbye to the fox said this to him: "It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye." I would like to further expound this with your answers. Before we end our discussion for today, I would like to have a survey. What could this quotation mean to you? Okay, thank you very much, Miss Laline. That we can only feel the love if we will use our hearts and not our eyes. Okay, Miss Georgette, you said that importance can be felt as well. That presence could not be there, but the love and affection that they can give are important as well. That's a good answer. And yes, Mr. Gensis, you're saying? Okay, it is only the heart that can feel the important things in life as we appreciate it coming from them. All of you are very inspiring. I like your answers. And lastly, Miss Kabling. Okay, that anything can be important as long as that we know how to appreciate it with our hearts. Thank you very much for your answers, students, and I am hoping that you can write your critic paper that well because I am expecting a lot from you. And of course, again, the deadline is on February 14, 9 a.m. So before we end this discussion, may I ask everyone to open their cameras for those who turned off their cameras so that we can have our photo attendance. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Give me your best smiles. And 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so once again, this is your Sir Christian telling you that I love you so much. And that would be all for today's lesson. Have a great day, everyone, and I hope that you enjoyed today's discussion. So all of your sit works will be sent, or the scores of your sit works will be sent immediately because I really love reading poems coming from you, students. And with that, let me end this meeting. Goodbye!